How's it going, guys? How are you doing? And welcome to a brand new video tutorial from iPinwis. So today we have a really cool tutorial as well as about React, since we have covered the last video tutorial about create React app and how you can use it to create app quickly for better development and just for an easy configuration of a project. Now for today's one, we're gonna probably do is jump into React Router. For those of you who doesn't know what is React Router, it's basically a router declarative. It allows you to create paths and create from a single page application. For example, imagine you have a single page application. For a single page application, you usually don't be able to have multiple pages, but the React router or the router component, what it does, it allows you to create multiple pages on a single page React application, and it's really smooth, and it has a lot of features like you are actually dealing with a web server or something, while you're not pretty much. You're just everything inside of your React application on the UI place, and everything is just tied up there. So there isn't something complicated about it or something. It's just like as simple as installing a component and starting working with it on your React application. So for the official web page, this is the official web page. We've got like React Router, Learn Once, Route Anywhere. It's actually available for both platforms, like the web and native. So if you're actually developing applications like for React Native for mobile phones like Android and iPhones and other supported platforms, well, you might use the native thing, or otherwise if you're on the web, since we're actually going to cover the web today, so you can probably just go ahead and see the web. There's actually tutorials, tons of them out there, really awesome documentation. So just accessing the web or the native, whatever field you're actually running on, you can have all the examples you probably want, you can give it the guides and everything, but we're just gonna go ahead and start right into it. So I already told you what is React Native. For those who doesn't, components are the heart of React. So just like, introduction to what is React Native basically. So it's like a declarative router that allows you to route and create multiple pages. So for example, in this application, we can move to the page of tutorials and stuff like this. All happens on the React without sending an HTTP request to a server, without even requiring a server running on the background. Now let's just jump into our React application. But one thing just to mention before doing all of that, I totally forgot about mentioning this. So I've got a new open source project, just put it in my GitHub page in here. So if you really want to check this out, it's been like an editor. It's a draft.js or a rich text editor. What you see is what you get editor, rich text editor, built on top of React and draft.js. So it's a really crazy project I've been working on for a couple of months right now. And this is actually the actual screenshot of the project. There is an official web page or a demo page that shows you how this component thing, how this rich text editor works and how you can install it and the whole documentation. So you can clearly go ahead and check it out. To check out my GitHub page, or go github.com, ipinwis, then /butterfly or butterfly editor. I don't know how you spell that correctly, but there we go. This is the component. This is the actual editor. And you can hopefully just go ahead and join into the editor. It's still in the beta thing. It's had a lot of other bugs and stuff like this, so we don't really recommend going ahead and using it for a real world project, but still you can go ahead and join the team and start developing it. You can just clone this one and try to improve this and add it, and you can use it as your own editor one day, or why not. So yeah, just want to point this one. I really be happy if you can just go ahead and check this out. So to just jump back into our projects, I've got a project in here created using React Router basically, and create React app, the tool set or command line interface we have used in the last video tutorial. So make sure to go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. So to see actually how we can set it up, or how we did set up this particular project. Now we first just need to go ahead and install the React Router components in here for it to work. So we can just go and do npm install react -router and -DOM. So make sure to install the DOM version, because there's a couple of versions, like the only React Router, the main core, that's going to be automatically installed once you install the DOM. The DOM basically is for the web. So if you're running web, you're going to just go ahead and download or install the DOM in here. If you're running React Native, you want to install the native part. We're not going to talk about this, so we just want the DOM. And obviously make sure to just go ahead and save it as a real dependency right over here. Just simple as that. I already done all of this kind of things, and make sure just go ahead and wait. It's not going to take that much of time, so just wait for it. And after installing of different things in here, we've got in here an empty React application. We can just go ahead into localhost 3000, so you can clearly see what the application looks like. Localhost 3000 ports. I've got just like hey, hello world from the other side and stuff like this. Nothing that much of an importance. Now what we want is just go ahead and try to add more pages into this application. Clearly see this application only now has one single page. It's not running a server or something. It's just completely React. The only server is running in here, so from create React app, we have no control or such control into this particular server, so we can edit or do nothing about this server. So don't imagine that we are actually using a server infrastructure behind the scenes, so we can send an HTTP request and receive a response on all different things. Everything is going to be used or created using the React router, and all of the pages is going to be manipulated using that. So here under the src folder, we're going to probably just go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to name this folder pages. So this folder is going to hold all of our pages, all the different pages that our application can have are going to be put inside of the pages folder in here. So first, let's go ahead and start with the first page. I'm going to name this index.js or JSX. So I'm going to add the X for using it with React to get the full support from the Visual Studio Code IDE for React. So to let you know that we are actually going to use this for a particular thing for rendering React components and stuff like this and using JSX. So first things first, let's go ahead and import React as we always do. So import React from React. Simple as that. Now we've got to import a couple of things actually. So the first thing to import is it's the basic things inside of the React router. So we've got to go through that and import each one of them. So it's going to be like only the index page. It's not going to be that much of interesting or something. The index page we're going to probably just render. We're not going to render any React router, okay? So we're just going to go ahead and do a const. For example, I'm going to name this main page, and this main page is going to be like a stateless components. Clearly see in here just a functional component. All it does, it just like returns some HTML back, and I'm just gonna put that. So some HTML in here. I'm gonna put a dev, and inside of this dev I'm gonna put h3 welcome to the, for example, React router tutorial. Okay, so there we go. We can't quality type, and then just go in and try to add another small tag in here telling it that's main page or something, so we can know that we are already inside of the main page in here. Simple as that. So we'll simply now just go ahead and just make sure to export this default as the main page component, so we can import it later on from our main page component. Now inside of the app.js, all the routing is going to happen inside of the app.js component. So here we've got an already made up component that what it does, it renders hey, so it's really not that much of complicated or something. Now we need to go ahead and import the React router stuff that allows us to do and set up all the routes together and put all the pages actually together, tidy it up, and you know, like manage the request, which page goes to what component gets rendered once we hit what specific page, and so on and so forth. So we've got to go ahead and do all of the things. Now we need to import first. It has a couple of things. So first is the browser router, and make sure to import the browser router because it's a really important thing to do. There is a couple of different type of routers. The browser router is the best one, and you know, the best one actually you need to use this. Other ones like hash routers and stuff, they are a little bit, they have like, you know, consequences using this and pros and cons, so make sure to check out the documentation. We're going to use the browser router here. I'm going to tell it to import it as a router so we can make everything clear and crispy. I'm going to put a route. There is also a route. We're also going to put a switch. So let me just go and import a switch, and we can talk about this a little bit later on. And we can have also a link that allows us to link between multiple components and multiple routes. And we're going to have finally a redirect. So we're not going to talk all about this, so just wait for the tutorial. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to import this from, obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to do from, okay, React, okay, router, I think, / the DOM. So hopefully it is actually there, and Yeah, there we go. We have imported all of those. There's no errors popping up or something. Now, what we've got to probably need to do is just go ahead inside of the components and it creates actual routers. And clearly see we only have a div in here, but instead of returning a div, we need to return a router container. The router, which is the browser router that we have named it router in here. You can just leave the name as router. It's not really that much of necessary or something, but it's really great to change the names. So depending on your application, I'm gonna name this as we do a router, and inside of this you can imagine it as a container that takes everything. So inside of this container we can have a route. Each route is pointing to a specific route or a specific path. What I mean by path is actually something like this. So this is the root path. The / means the root path. For example, you're gonna have / and you can have user. So the path is, this one is actually / user. This is the path. You can have another like 45. So you're gonna have user number 45, and this is the path. When someone says the path, or you hear someone says the path is basically this one, / user / 54. This is basically it. Now we can go ahead and put a route in here. It's going to be simple. The route is not really complicated, and you can put a path prop inside of this. So you've got to put a path prop in here to tell it which path is going to be rendered to. So the path is going to be the / the / basically means the root path in here. Nothing a little bit much complicated or something. The root path you point it to with a / in here, and we can have like components. Which component is going to be rendered once the user actually hits this particular path. So we've got to go ahead and import this particular component. Let me just go ahead and do this really quick in here up. So I'm going to do pages, and I'm going to import each page. So we have only one page in here, which is the main page. I'm going to import it from / pages, and we're going to grab the index page. So we can just go ahead and put it like this. It automatically goes for the index page without any problems. So ES6 is smart enough to know about kind of things. And we just give it the components. Once we hit the root path, React router is just going to take this. It finds and it grabs the component and it renders it instead of the other components. You can have multiple components in Clear, but we only have one single page in here, so we're really nothing that much of complicated or something. We can just go and Control S in here, go back, and there we go. Look what we've got. So we've got welcome to the React router tutorial, main page, and we've put that in here. So the main page is actually the component that we said it needs to be rendered once we hit the root path, and obviously we've put that inside of the index.js and it gets rendered perfectly. But also, if you can go ahead and, some of you might ask, well, I don't really see the point in here. What if any user tries to put something like arbitrary in here? It still shows the index page. So some of you might ask, how can I show them a 404 page not found? Well, this is easy actually. So React Router provides you with everything you need to create multiple page applications right out of the box without a lot of code to put in or redundant things to think about. Just a simple things. Just check out the documentation. You're gonna find your answer hopefully. So here inside of the route, we've got a switch. This switch, what it does, it tells it to switch between routes. So when you have like multiple routes, it's better to use the routes might still work. So if you try them, you might still work. But in some cases, in some scenarios, to get the full features from the React router, you've got to go ahead and use the switch in here and put it like, the switch is going to be holding the full React, all the routes. So here you're probably going to put more than one route, like multiple routes. So the switch is going to need to be the parent of this one. So we're going to have a switch in here. Let me just going to copy this or cut it and put it right below this. So you can have now all the routes. And we're just going to use or declare a new route that going to take us into the 404 page if we, I don't know, like hit something arbitrary or something. So how we can clearly tell him to go ahead and point into a 404 page. Remember the switch, you can put multiple pages and stuff, but we can take this and we can tell him, for example, when he goes into a path, like I don't know, something, you don't specify actually the path, you only specify the components. So when you don't tell it the path, what it does, it automatically knows that this is a component or this is a route, always needs to be rendered only if that's no other one is actually matching. So if it doesn't what it does, React Auto, basically, it looks at the first route in here. So you can imagine this as a stack of routes. It looks at the first route. It tells, oh my God, there's actually the route path in here. But if you take a look on the browser, what the user is searching for, if for example, is searching for something arbitrary like this, okay, searching for something like this, it doesn't actually match that, okay? It doesn't match the route path. It moves down and it finds this one. This one doesn't have any path, so the path is actually optional, path prop. What it does, it automatically go ahead and renders this. So this is how a React or a 404 page works. There's other things we're gonna cover in just a little bit. So this is the basic and most obvious thing. I'll just go ahead and try to copy all of the different things in here, create another project or another page pretty much. And I'm gonna name this like 404.jsx, so it's gonna be our 404 page. I'm gonna put everything back in here. I'm gonna name this well, not found page, and I'm gonna copy this so we can actually export as default, and we can have something like an h2 or something. Well, so we can put 404, okay, not found. There we go. I mean here an exclamation mark, and also we're gonna go ahead and change this to h2, and there we go. Just save that. Going back in here, now we can give it the 404 page that we want. Let me just copy that really quick. I'm gonna grab this from the 404 and I'm gonna name this, well, not found page. There we go. So simple as that. Now we can just, take this one, put it in here. And also for it actually to work, to ignore this path, what you need to actually add an exact path prop. So the exact path prop in here, or to tell you that this path has to be the exact same thing that we are defining in here. So if it's not /, you just go ahead and move down. You're not going to render this. But otherwise, if you just ignore this and remove it, it just go ahead and renders this for you, even though it doesn't match this exactly, but it does have some regular expression thing going on behind the scenes to evaluate this kind of things. So this is how it basically works. So you have got to go ahead and add this exact path in here. You can put a component, and the component is not found on the 404 page. Now you can clearly save that. Go back in here. We've got here, so let me just go ahead and put a /. We can put something arbitrary up there so we can trigger the 404 page, and there we go. We've got 404 not found. So the 404 GSX, or the components, the not found page component, now is being rendered once we hit some arbitrary path that doesn't exist on the list of the available paths. So pretty good. This is how you can achieve actually 404 very, very easily without any problems or something like this. Or actually you can do this another way. So here we've got the route, like two routes. What it does when it's not gonna find this path, so actually what it doesn't find the prop path, what it does, it just like renders this automatically without any problem. So it does no checking against this. But the problem in here, if you take a look in here, so whenever we hit that, we put the path in here, it's not gonna redirect us into a 404 page. Like the user is not gonna see a real world 404 page changing on the URL path in here up on the toolbar here, or the URL path. So what is happening, what we want is whenever he hits something arbitrary, we get him rendered the components we want, then we get him redirected into something like 404 to let him know that we are actually inside of 404. How we can do this? We can use the redirect component that allows us to do so. So we can use a redirect component in here. This component, you give it a path, like a to prop, and you tell it to go to something, to a path that is already has been defined in here. For example, you tell it to go to the root path, or there's other routes in here like /user that's already been defined, so you can just go ahead and tell it to go to this particular path. Now I've got the redirect in here. You can tell it to which is going to be redirected. For example, I'm going to tell it to get redirected into /404. And this is simply it. So whenever it doesn't find anything, no path is going to be matching, so we just go ahead and redirect this. So make sure to have this at last thing. If you put it up in here, it's just going to be running at first, and none of your components going to be like triggering or putting the routes together. So make sure to have all the redirects, or all the, what do you call them in here? So like a generic or a standard redirect or a standard route, so it's gonna run no matter what. So make sure to have them the last thing on the stack of your route. So this is a really, really important note to take apart. And now we've got the path in here. We've got also to add a path in here so we can, redirect to it, which is the 404 path that we've put it in here. So whenever you don't find anything, we're gonna redirect into the 404, which has gonna render us the not found page component. And make sure to add the exact path in here so it could run flawlessly without any problem. So the exact is a really important thing when it comes to 404 handling and working. Control S in here. Going back now, if we try to put in here, for example, something arbitrary like that, we save this, and as you can clearly see, automatically redirect us into a 404 / the path is going to change, and as well it's going to render us the 404 not found components. So this is most likely what you want. You can just leave it as it was, but this one is definitely better for user experience and for managing your things, and this is actually way much more professional. Just for me, whenever you try to create a real world application this way, how I'm gonna actually use and create the 404 page and the whole system that's gonna deal with the redirect thing in here, because this is how we meant to be done. Now let's go and try to add another page so we can have a multiple page application. So instead of the pages in here, we're gonna do a new file. I'm gonna name this like users page. It's gonna be GSX, and I'm gonna take all of the things in here so we don't really retype everything. I'm gonna have like users, and remember that I'm gonna name this users page, and I'm gonna put this up there. So here we can have a list of users or something. For example, let me just go and grab a list of users. I think I have them right here in my second monitor. So it's an array basically. So I'm gonna have a UL that is an ordered list, and I'm gonna put an array in here. So let me just put that. I'm gonna have an array, just a random names of people, or I don't know, something like this, of programmers. You can imagine them like this, just a random name. So those are our users. So let's say we've grabbed this from the database or something, we fetched them from a database using a RESTful API call or something like this. So just imagine this. We're gonna use the map function in here. We're gonna have user, so we can actually print them and render them using li. So we can just go ahead and do return on li with a key is gonna be the actual index, which gonna do in a second, and we're gonna have the user is gonna be rendered right over there. So it's gonna be the user. We're gonna have an edx in here, which is gonna be the index. To let's React actually manage that using a key, and there we go. So just simple as that. This is all we want to do. Go back into the app.js, and let's try to import that again. So I'm gonna import this from users and users. Okay, page, and we can copy this and put in a route in here, so it's not really that much complicated to do. We can put the exact path. We can have a path prop again. So for example, it's gonna point into /users, and the components to be rendered is the users page. Simple enough. Now if we try to put that, now the application is gonna work pretty much fine. Whenever we hit /users, the application or the React router are going to do the job for us and takes us into the users page. Now we can just do, like, for example, users, and we just hit that, and there we go. We've got an ordered list of users like Alex, John, Jazz, Frederick, Masali, whatever thing you're probably calling, whatever names you think of. There we go. We've got them rendered. But now what we want is, for example, we are actually inside of the, let's say we are actually inside of the root path or the main page, like the home page, and we want to move and see the list of the users. So probably the user doesn't know that. So for better user experience, you're going to have a button in here or some kind of hyperlink that when the user clicks, like show the list of the users, he clicks that and it automatically redirects him into and takes him to the users page. And here shows obviously the users path. How we can do that? So basically we can go ahead and use the same thing. There's a link component here, the last thing that we haven't used it yet, so we can just go ahead and use this. And we're gonna do this inside of the main page, so we can import this as well. I'm gonna do import link. Okay, so we can import this from React. Okay, I don't know, I can't actually type or something. So router DOM, there we go, and we've got the link up there. So now what we want is, for example, we're gonna have a link in here just down here, a link it's on itself is an actual component, so you can render it normally as a normal component, and it takes in here a string. Like imagining you're rendering a hyperlink, for example, you actually put in a hyperlink together. So an href, you put some text in here, it's the same way. You can put a text there and it's going to be redirected, and inside of this component what it does, it renders a hypertext, it renders an a tag. So yeah, this is how basically it works, but it does some mechanism system, so you can't use the hyperlink. The hyperlink is basically, or the a tag is actually used for routing and redirecting to external websites and external URLs, like taking him to google.com or to facebook.com or just any other external URL you think about. But for internal URLs, you've got to go ahead and use the link system in here, or the link components, in order to let React router know that you are wanting to redirect the user and changing the path and doing all the needed things that the React router does behind the scenes for redirecting from one page to another. So for the link in here, we can just go in and put a to prop. The to prop, you tell it to where it goes, like which path you want it to go. For example, we want it to go into the users path, so we can put in a / and tell it to go to the users. And here we can put it like show list of users or something, probably lowercase, and we can put that, just save it. Now remember, make sure you have the valid URLs in here, or the path. The best practice to do work with this when you have like a real world application, what you can do is create variables in here, like store them globally on the state, like a global state when you're using Redux or Flux. So on React, of course, then you can access them from any components inside of your hierarchy. So this is a really important step to do, because when you change a path in here, there's a tons of other components. If you have a lot of them, they need you to go ahead, like, manually and change them, and you're gonna have bugs and problems and errors, which you're gonna have tons of lines of code. This is gonna be pain in the ass. So make sure to do so, or think about it at least. If you're thinking of using React router, just using those or putting those paths inside of variables is gonna help you a lot during your journey. So Control S in here again. You can clearly see we've got the main page. So the main page, you can go ahead and do like show list of users. We click that, and you can clearly see automatically goes and reloads this. The one thing that you haven't noticed yet is it's not actually having the delay of contacting the server and having a response or something, because this is all happening inside of the browser. So you don't really need a server or something to run the React router. All it does, it runs inside of the browser. It does the whole routing system, the whole routing mechanism inside of the browser. So you don't really have to care about anything rather than just using the React router, defining your things and fetching data from your server, from your API or something, and there we go. Everything would work as smooth as possibly as you can probably think. So yeah, this is how we basically work with the users and stuff like this. Just very simple. This is how you can redirect from one route to another and vice versa. You can put another link in here and you can redirect them. One other notice I just want to point you to is actually the route, or the router component doesn't, or it cannot have more than one single child. What I mean by this, in here you can clearly see this is a child. This child has multiple children, so it has multiple routes. So those are child components basically. So the router only can accept one single child. So you can imagine this as you are actually rendering your application on a React application. So you've got to go ahead and put in a wrapper, so you can just imagine it's a wrapper, but you can't give it more than one single child. So this is a really important thing. If it puts another child on here, for example, a dev, and you actually save that or something, it's just gonna give you an error or something. So this is just one important out, guys. So thank you for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed. See you all hopefully in the next video tutorial.